Alrighty YouTube, this is Ethan with the Flinnerd. About 2 years ago, I made a tutorial video at a beginner level on how to install a Rockford Fosgate P300-10 sub, and I'd like to update that with what I've learned since then. I feel that people who don't want crap audio in their cars and are beginners in the car audio space often gravitate towards this subwoofer or at least similar subs. It's got a built-in amp, plenty of boom, it's space efficient, and it's relatively easy to install. So if you fall into this demographic of people who are new to car audio and, such as myself, can't find an ounce of helpful information on how to install this thing, this video is for you. Now, if you're losing your subwoofer installation virginity with this video, you must know that your first time usually goes something like this.
Wow, I can't wait to install my new subwoofer. This will take 2 hours, maximum.
What? Hey, what is that? What?
I want to turn on. I've tried everything. Please turn on.
My leg. Biscuit. 10 millimeters.
Oh my god. What time is it? I hope we can avoid some of that for you. Let's get started with the tools you'll need for the job. You've got the sub and what comes with it, but you need a kit too. Standard sub installation kits are around $30 online. Crutchfield is almost always a safe bet to get car audio equipment. Remember that you're looking for a kit with 8-gauge wire. While I place helpful tools in the background, a basic kit will include the power cable that goes to your battery's positive, a ground cable that goes from your sub to your car body, a remote on switch for auto turn-on, RCA cables for audio transfer, and finally a fuse. You'll also likely need a wire stripper, or to wire a stripper if you're feeling frisky, a ratchet or otherwise to remove your car stereo, some wire wrap that shrinks under heat, and a multimeter is exceptionally helpful if one is available to you. Now, what do we do with all of this assembled information? Well, let's quickly go over basic steps. We're looking at 1. With your battery disconnected, get the red wire with your fuse installed through your engine bay, firewall, and car interior to the place you want your subwoofer. Pay attention to cable management. 2. Find a bolt or other spot that is connected via bare metal to the body of your vehicle to eventually attach your ground cable to. And 3. Remove your car stereo so you can connect your RCA cables and remote on switch. 4. Get all that connected to your sub and you're set. Easy, right? Wrong. At least for someone who has no idea what they're doing, such as me 2 years ago. Let's switch in person to talk about the problems and solutions that I had and found during my original installation and what I've discovered afterwards. So, starting with the positive terminal of the battery, you have the red 8-gauge wire that comes with the kit. You'll also likely have to put on a connector here, like crimp the wire to this connector so you can use the nut attached to your battery terminal to permanently attach it. Running a few inches up the wire, we get to our fuse. It's important to keep your fuse close to your battery. You're going to strip off about ½ an inch of the sheath of the wire on either side that you cut and insert it into the fuse box. And it's going to look a little different with each kit, but that's the basic premise. Here we have this black sheath that covers it and protects it from the heat of the engine. And it actually goes all the way back, which I'll show you. All the way back behind the engine and all the way in that corner, which I'm poorly pointing at. It goes behind the firewall, which there's a gasket there, and I'll show you right now. Here is the gasket and the firewall. You'll see the red cable coming through with lots of electrical tape because I couldn't fit it through the gasket itself. It's in between the metal frame and the gasket. I absolutely don't recommend this because it can break through the wire sheath and short out. You'll have a smoky mess if it doesn't burn your car apart. But I've taken precaution here because I didn't have another option. I did try and use the wire coat hanger trick where you kind of fish it through the gasket, but I just could not fit the wire. So best case scenario is run the wire through the gasket, not alongside it. Taking out your car's head unit is also an important part of this process. I have taken mine out already and placed it to the side so we can get a better view of it. I'm going to zoom in here And those black and blue striped cables that are plugged into the RCA ports are RCA cables and go through the car and run back to your subwoofer, and that's how it gets audio information to play along with your music. Besides that, there's a small blue and white cable that comes from that spaghetti of cables that is pre-installed with your head unit, and that is your REM cable. I mentioned that earlier. That also runs to your subwoofer and tells it to turn on when the car turns on. One last thing about the head unit. You'll likely need an adapter for RCA cables if you're using a factory head unit from your car's manufacturer. However, they are very easily available online. Now on to the subwoofer itself. Starting with its ill-fated power connector that's confusing to everyone, including myself, when I first started 2 years ago. You have a positive terminal and a negative terminal that's listed on the power connector itself, and then an unlabeled center terminal. The red cable, of course, goes to the positive terminal. The negative terminal goes to your ground cable. I originally thought that my kit that I got was missing a negative cable that went all the way back to the battery, but of course that is just meant for your ground cable. That's going to go to a well-secured bolt grounded out to your car's body, like I said earlier. The center spot is actually for your REM cable, the one that's going to remotely turn on and off your subwoofer when your car turns on and off. It fixes itself in there just like the other two. You'll also see the RCA cables, the same colors that were attached to the head unit up there, are back here. They're just attached to a little adapter that should come with your subwoofer when you get it, along with this power connector and the fuses. I'm going to switch to an up-close shot of this side panel here and talk about the controls on the subwoofer. So talking from behind the camera, on the left you have your sound adjustment, one for gain, one for your crossover, and one for its own custom bass boost feature, which I don't personally use. So on the top you have phase, which you don't really need to know everything that they do, just keep the phase at 0, the input level at low unless you're doing some special setup where you're getting audio input from other speakers in the car rather than the head unit. And if you're using an REM cable, keep it set to REM on the top right. If you're using it to just turn on when it detects audio like I did, then have it switch to audio. Everything else has been explained there, and I'll throw up something on screen from the official user manual to explain the different colors of the lights that you may see. Otherwise, everything's covered here. This is the last thing I'd like to mention. It's a little bass knob that's connected to the back of the subwoofer and allows you to control the volume while you're driving. It's 2 small screws to mount, and the cable gets run through just like everything else. So that's what I've learned throughout this whole process. Back to the narrator. I hope this has helped you. If so, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching.